Hi, I'm Jem.
And I'm Victoria.
And this is
The Criminal Crack.
I thought I'd try something new.
Maybe not. Can you hear that tooting? How inconsiderate are my neighbours?
They're very inconsiderate, and we should probably get through this really quickly before they start banging next door with hammers. What if they're fans? Hi!
Hi, neighbourinos.
Hey!
Have you got the hay fever?
I've got the hay fever.
You sound a bit
nasally.
nasally.
More so, I think, than I did in the Laurie Vallow episode.
Oh.
So, I apologise.
You need to smother your face in honey and bees. Maybe not. Oh, talking of honey, my friend Andy, he's a listener. Hello, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
He does a podcast too called Beyond Graves and Stars. I think he's got a couple of podcasts.
He does, because you've told me about them, and I do need to check them out. And Andy, I will check them out. You've been wonderful with all your comments. Thank you.
But he sent me, because I had a birthday, and he sent me birthday presents, and he sent me the Blood and Honey movies, the Winnie the Pooh movies, because he's just done a podcast about childhood ruined. So basically, you know, movies and stuff that
because
I
Winnie the Pooh's
though.
supposed to be a friendly bear. Does that sound like Winnie the Pooh?
You shouldn't do a Winnie the Pooh voice in front of our CEO.
Oh my God. Are you going to explain that? Why have you brought this up?
My dog has a
sexual relationship with a Winnie the Pooh toy that talks.
There we go.
And what does it say while she humps it relentlessly?
My fluff and stuff feels happier now.
My fluff and stuff always feels happy after, you know.
Friends are for hugging. I'll play them on here one time. I'm going to go squeeze his belly.
Yeah, don't hump it.
Anyway.
How many of these have we had to have because of the humping?
We're on Pooh 2, and then we bought a replacement Pooh, which the puppy then
humps now too.
Yeah, but that one doesn't talk, thankfully. So anyway, hello Andy, and thank you for my birthday present.
Thank you for my Oh no, you never got me a birthday present. Your comments and likes are present enough. Thank you.
So what you been up to, Gemma?
I have been working. I
Good.
attended a fabulous murder mystery event where I'm pretty sure we stole the show.
Oh, I think so.
It was so much fun.
My French accent, because I was Georgette.
You were Georgette and I was Agatha. Oh, balls, I knew my name at the beginning. Agatha something Hogg.
Agatha Eaton Hogg.
Agatha Eaton Hogg, and it was my engagement to Bunny Mandelson. Turned out to be a right cad, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
It was a box set. Maybe we should show the box set.
It's really old. It was like we had to get the cassette player out, so...
Didn't you have to buy a cassette player? A boombox?
No. I did get a cassette player, but then it didn't work, and so Dad had to get his cassette player out the loft or wherever he kept his cassette player.
Oh, it was so much fun, but the box set and the instructions and stuff didn't really go very well, but it all came together and we enjoyed it, and Victoria made fantastic food.
I made a 3-course meal, and I poached pears, and I'd never done that before, and they were delicious, actually.
They were beautiful. I love a poached pear. I do think poached is one of those words that I don't like, though.
It's not a good word, is it?
Poached.
But I had to poach them in sauternes, which is like a really fancy schmancy dessert wine, which we just happened to have a bottle of in the house.
That doesn't surprise me.
I think I bought it for Christmas and it just didn't happen. So,
what have you been up to?
I went to London.
You sound like you're from London.
London to see my southern bestie, Beck.
Another one of our fans?
Another one of our
I can't call her Bex because I don't know her, and I just can't do that. So hi, Becky.
And we went to see a country music artist called Kip Moore, who
you drilled over.
Not really heard of, but he was blooming brilliant. It was a little intimate gig in a HMV, like there was a book, not
yeah,
a
it looked really cool. Yeah, you should put pictures up.
Yeah, oh, he was amazing. Really, really good. And I'll take or leave country music. You know, I'm not...
There's a lot of whining in it, isn't there?
Becky is country, because she's got a country music boyfriend. She's got her own cowboy. Rob Lewis music. Look, we're doing all the shout-outs today.
We are. Rob, don't know you, but great music.
And...
Wait. If we know these music people, why have none of them offered to do a better theme tune for us, is what I'm wondering. I write the theme tune, sing the theme tune.
I've never suggested it to them, but...
Well,
yeah,
you're
Rob, you can
useless.
do us a theme tune if you like.
That would be awesome. Otherwise, we're going to have to go with the one on the bloopers reel that I've not posted yet, but I'm gonna.
Oh no, is this the one with the beatbox?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was amazing.
Okay.
I would also like to give a shout out to my baby brother. He's 26. Liam, who... So my half of my family live in Holland. I'm not Dutch. No. I'm half Scouse, half Scottish, with a smattering of Irish. And we have a group chat. And in it, for some reason, Liam just thinks he gets persecuted by the rest of us. So he wanted us to do an episode about the tragic life of Liam Hampson. So just a little shout out there.
Well, hopefully he doesn't have enough tragedy in his
He
life.
has no tragedy. He brings up
episode
shrimps.
of the Criminal Crack.
No, he brings up shrimps in a tank. Remember there was the murder, like one of the shrimps was trying to eat a baby shrimp. He has me, and I'm amazing. He's got my brother Anthony as well, who does wind him up, but it's because Anthony is incredibly happy all the time, and Liam can be a miserable little sod, can't you? Anyway, this is going to be a long episode, so we should probably
crack on with the... yeah, she got it.
That's my Sheldon laugh.
So tell me, Gemma, what is the crack?
Well, the crack today is not the crack it was going to be.
Oh.
I'd chosen another case, and I'll do it at another point, but feedback was suggesting that we'd been quite dark so far. So I thought that I would do something with a little bit of light at the end of it.
Okay.
And it's still dark, don't get me wrong. There is trigger warnings, it's awful. And I'm covering 2 cases and both are awful. However, my first case is a survival story.
Okay. I'm perplexed. Sat here perplexed.
Perplexed. And I'm trying to look at Victoria, but I've got this thing about my microphone being on an angle, so now I'm... Anyway.
Yeah, I've got a funny angle.
So, we always put our references at the end. We put them in our Spotify blurb, but I've heard a lot of podcasts mention bits at the start too. So I'm just going to say that quite a lot of my references for this episode came from newspapers.com, and in particular the Austin American Standard, which I've had a great time looking through the American newspapers, and an I Survived episode. But I'm not going to tell you the name of the I Survived episode until the end, because it's a bonkers name. And I'm not using the name for this, but it's bonkers. So, shall we crack on?
Let's crack
let's.
on.
Today's episode is a little different to what I usually do, because I'm covering 2 crimes that have become forever linked because of 2 wonderful women. Both of these women faced trauma and managed to come out of the other side and have helped other people as they did so. They're wonderful. You may cry.
Oh no.
I think both of the cases that I tell you about will open the doors of discussion, and we really welcome discussion on our Facebook page. We are both going to try to be a lot more active on there. As Victoria's alluded to before, we have other jobs. We're both also a little bit ditzy and not the best with organisation.
Yeah, I've been super busy lately, but I do want to do more.
I do too.
And if you prompt us, we'll try really hard.
So, the crimes I'm sharing today are horrific and include murder and sexual assault. I'm using the word sexual assault when I obviously mean the R word, but a lot of the streaming services don't like that word, even though I put explicit warning on the description. So when I'm referring to sexual assault, sometimes I think that sounds like it's diminishing what actually happened, but in no way is that what I intend. By the time I finish this episode, I hope I won't have ruined whatever day you're listening to this on, and that you can see the light that I've seen as well. And I'm going to try and do it in 2 parts. Part 1 begins in the hot summer sun of Austin, Texas, on the 26th of August 1986, while temperatures were hitting between 23 and 30 degrees every day, which we've just had up to 28 degrees, and it was hot. But the humidity is different in America, and I just feel like that would be like being in an oven.
You've had hot. We're out by the coast and it's been cold.
I've been on the coast most of the week. A young transient man from California has just alighted the bus after a 1,500-mile journey. 1,500 miles the same as 1,500, right?
That's far.
It is far.
That's blooming far.
Slung over his shoulder, he had a duffel bag containing everything he could grab after attacking his brother-in-law and making a break from the law to avoid the consequences. Assessing the scene, he found himself in the city of Westlake Hills. Now, I would consider this quite a small city from what I found online. At this time, it covered an area of around 4 square miles, and in the 1990 census, the population was around 2,565 people.
That's very small.
So it's Ickle.
It is Ickle City.
It is Ickle. And the population of Westlake Hills was mainly made up of fairly well-off people, with residents whose income was below the poverty line was around 1.2%, and child poverty was at 1.1%, which I think we can agree is very low.
Yep.
So this was to say that basically this young man had found himself in a rather nice part of Austin. Aimlessly wandering into town, he then crossed the Colorado River using what the locals refer to as the low bridge.
As a what bridge?
The low bridge.
Okay, the low bridge. Is there a high bridge?
I didn't look. You take the high road and I'll take the low road in my head now. But for context, I did look it up, and it's one of those bridges that's like really wide, really flat, really close to the water, and it's got no sides, which freaks me out.
See, I like the sound of that.
You can drive over it, but you can also walk over it.
But if you were drunk walking over it...
I mean, it's quite wide, so if they needed you to do a sobriety test, you've got plenty of space to wiggle about. Stepping off the bridge, the man made his way into a community of houses set into the hills. All the while, he was watching the people there, seeing who was coming and going and working out who belonged to which home. He did this for over a day. In fact, it could have been up to 2 days, we're not entirely sure, searching for something whilst trying to stay unobserved and blending into the scenery. Finally, he found what he was looking for and hunkered down and patiently waited. 2 to 3 days later, 43-year-old Ellen Dew, it's D-U-W-E, I think it's Dew, woke to the sounds of her 2 teenage boys getting ready for school and her husband pulling out his golf clubs and preparing for a day on the green. I think that's what golfy people say. Calls of goodbye and have a great day rang out as her family went out of the door, leaving Ellen to enjoy some quiet time before a day that promised to be a busy one. Now, Ellen did work, but I've not really been able to work out where she worked, but I know she had an office. Wandering through to the kitchen, she poured herself a coffee and sat down to read the paper for a while in peace and quiet. When she was fully caffeinated and up to date with current affairs, Ellen decided it was time to get herself ready, so she made her way to the bedroom she shared with her husband. She removed her nightwear and pottered into the ensuite and turned her shower on. When she was done, she turned it off again, wrapped a towel around herself and reached into her bedroom wardrobe for a robe. Suddenly, her jaw dropped as she became aware of someone dressed as a ninja staring at her from the corner of the room.
Oh my goodness.
Paralysed by fear. Now, I've gone really in depth here because I want you to feel exactly not how she felt, but I want you to get a real good picture. Paralysed by fear, she took in his eyes and the skin around them. These were the only body parts visible to her. Then her eyes swept upwards to his right hand. A large knife was grasped in it. Screaming, she bravely ordered him to, quote, "Get out of my house," before he rushed at her. She recounts in an episode of I Survived that for a split second she actually thought that maybe this was a joke, like a prank. And in the moment she found herself laughing about it. She just couldn't believe what was going on. And then her mind flipped and thought, no, maybe it was a nightmare and she just had to wake up. So she recalls telling herself to, quote, wake up, wake up, wake up. Isn't it incredible what your brain will do to protect you?
Yeah.
This can't possibly be what I think it is. As her brain began to clear, she felt the gravity of what was happening to her and she started to fight him, giving it all she could. This made him really, really angry. Using the back of his left hand, he hit her hard across the face, which sent her stumbling. At the same time, he was shouting at her to get down on the floor. And as she stumbled about, with his free hand, he was pushing her backwards and she fell and landed on the ground. But she didn't stay on the ground. She tried to get back up again, but he hit her and sent her right back down. From what I already know, and I think you're probably already working out, Ellen was a feisty woman. And she had decided she was not going to sit where he wanted. And she got up again, but this time she headed into her bedroom and sat on the edge of her bed instead, her bare feet, her wet legs dangling. Face to face, she was able to take in what he was wearing. On his body, he wore a suit that looked like that which she believed a ninja would wear. So it's like, you know, the long black sleeves, like a tunic style, something around the waist, black trousers.
Yeah, that's what I've got in my head, yep.
Yeah, and she said he had black gloves over both hands. So, like, literally there was no skin apart from his eyes. And then, obviously, his eyeballs, which are not skin, but you know what I mean. And the weapon in his hand was, quote, the biggest knife she'd ever seen. I'd like you to remember at this point, she's only covered up from under her arms to around her knees by that towel. This attack was really quick. This happened within 5 minutes. And I can imagine The adrenaline brought on by stress and pure horror was just running around her body. And even though it was really hot outside, I can just see her sitting, shaking with fear. As she sat there petrified, he taunted her, dragging the blade of the knife across her bare feet. She was really confused. She didn't understand why he was doing that. She was desperately racking her brain, trying to figure out why he was there, what did he want. And I'm guessing that she thought if she found this out, she could give it to him and then he would leave and she'd be safe.
Yeah.
Tying her hands behind her back, he then began to bind her feet together. And as he did, he started talking. He told her that her home was lovely and then drilled her with questions about how much money she had, what was in the house, was there money at work, what was in her bank. She deduced that money must be his objective. She was probably thinking that once he robbed her, he would just leave, so she began to plead with him, promising him that he could have every penny she had in the bank, and she would even write him a cheque and drive him to the bank to cash it. She'd give him anything, but this made him angrier than he was in the first place. Now, this anger really seems to have made him chatty. He began ranting, almost shouting at Ellen, saying that she was going to have a terrible accident, saying, quote, "You're going to have a bad day, lady, a bad accident." And then his lips got even looser. He boasted to her he had been hiding in her home for the last 2 days.
Oh.
Before she'd even discovered him, he was living in her attic.
Is that, do they call it frogging or something?
Well, this was back in 1986, and the I Survived episode, I can now tell you, is the ninja in the attic.
Right.
I find this horrifying. I've seen videos online where, like, people have thought something's going wrong and, like, it tends to be these tiny little apartments, and they'll set a camera up and then they'll watch the footage and like people are crawling out of their walls and things.
Yeah, they have crawl spaces and stuff, and the infrastructure of houses is a bit different, I think, in America. That's the impression I get anyway from
videos like this.
Things that I've seen, but that is horrifying.
It is horrifying. So remember, he had walked around the community after it, and this is what he was looking for. He was looking for a home that he could get into. All of them probably had quite a bit of money.
And I'm assuming watching their routines to see where the males are leaving the house as well.
Well, everybody, I think.
Yeah. But he wanted somebody to be there, I'm assuming. He wanted a victim. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just robbery.
No.
No.
You're not. It's not going to be that easy.
I didn't think.
So on the day he had turned up, he had chosen Ellen's home, which was 401 Terrace Mountain Drive, and he'd waited until nightfall, broken in, and made himself comfortable in her loft. And they had no idea. 4 people lived in that home: 2 teenagers, the husband, and Ellen, and nobody knew.
He was a stealth ninja.
He was something else. It's just bizarre. For the next 2 or 3 days, again, we're not really sure how long he was in there, he hid there and he listened to the unsuspecting Jew family go about their daily life. And it was because of this that he knew he had time to act out the plans he had for Ellen.
Aye.
His spying gave him the knowledge of when Ellen would be left alone in the home and roughly how long he would have with her, meaning that this monster knew exactly when it would be best to reveal himself. She properly relaxed and let her guard down in the morning. Nobody else was in the house. I think we all do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As his anger grew, he shared his evil plans with her, gloating that he was going to rape her. Oh, I'm not meant to say the R word. And Ellen says these weren't his exact words, but it was what he meant. So you can imagine he was swearing at her, using the F word. You know, it wasn't nice. And she was crying. She was begging and begging him not to do it, but he did anyway. I haven't included this in the episode, but later I read research that said she didn't tell people that this had happened for a long time because she was so ashamed. And it's something we hear all the time.
Yeah.
And it's not, we know, and logically anybody who's been through it knows they shouldn't feel ashamed, but it does bring shame.
It is never the victim's fault.
Never.
It's always the perpetrator's fault.
Mm-hmm. Cutting the bindings he had only just tied around her feet, the man screamed at her to get on the bed again and lie down. Hoping to appeal to something inside him, Ellen told him she was Christian. However, this had no effect either. He violated her, there, on her own bed. Then he had the gall to tell her that he'd enjoyed that. Placing a blindfold over her eyes and wrapping the tape around her ankles again, he left her prone and broken on the bed as she sobbed and he took a shower. As she heard the water running in the adjoining room, Ellen desperately tried to form a plan to get away, but frustratingly she found that with her arms behind her back, her feet tied together and her eyes covered, there seemed to be no viable method of escape. She was terrified that if she tried and failed, she'd be signing her own death warrant.
Yeah.
And she's a fighter. I think we've already seen that she's a fighter. She's answered him back. She sat where she wanted, but she just didn't see herself getting out of this house. As the shower went quiet, I can only imagine she braced herself for what was to come next. He pulled the blindfold off, which is always a terrifying thing to happen because once you've seen them, what happens next?
Exactly. You've seen that face. Yeah.
Yep. He was back in the ninja gear, but he took the blindfold off her again. Thrusting his hand towards her face, Ellen realised he was proffering one of her own checks to her. Something's just dawned on me here. He put the blindfold on her while he was in the shower, so he would rape her, but she wasn't allowed to see. I get
him.
the face, but yeah.
Because that would be a vulnerability on his part, and he's
Oh,
not
poor
vulnerable,
baby.
is he? So
So I felt like I needed to do a little FYI for younger listeners because we don't use cheques now. So a cheque is a piece of was a piece of paper that went with a bank card basically and was attached to your bank account. You could use them to pay for items or to transfer money over to another person's account. So you could pay for your weekly shop with a cheque, as we know, because we are from that era. I don't think I've ever done it. I don't think I've ever paid in a shop with a cheque, but my mum used to.
oh gosh, I have. Yeah,
Have you?
I had a checkbook. I've probably still got it somewhere.
Well, I was given chequebooks, but I just lost them.
Back to me being a hoarder.
I bet you do as well. She's going to go and look for them later and then give you all her bank details, her mother's maiden name and her card, last 3 digits. So basically, if you wanted to use a cheque, the account owner would fill it in with the name of the person the money was for, or with the shop's name, or they would use like a little gadoomphy stamp thing. You know, like a
Yeah, I love that word that you just made.
gadoomp.
Gadoomphy. Brilliant.
I love a
word.
gadoomp or a gadoomphy. Have I never used that before?
Nope.
Well, you could. And you would put the amount that it was for and you had to do it in numbers, remember, and you had to write it out in words.
Yep.
And it would be signed by the account holder. And it was sort of like credit, wasn't it? Because they took about 10 days to clear. So you could do a massive shop and then be like, mwahaha.
Yeah, I don't actually have that money.
That's what they were good for,
Check
though.
bouncing.
Yeah. I know I'm going to get paid in 4 days. This is going to take 10 days to clear, so...
Yeah.
It was blank except for where he had written $600 in the amount section, and he wanted Ellen to sign it and add his name as a recipient. So this meant he had to give her his name, which is a little bit stupid, no?
Yeah, totally.
You're not allowed to see my face, but this is
No.
my name. I bet Ellen agreed with us that this was a really stupid thing to do, and I'm only speculating as to how I'd be thinking at this point. But in the same position, I think that this meant that it was all over for me if he was willing to give me his name.
But on the flip side of that, if she had been killed, surely any cheque wouldn't have time to clear. So that would be
No, but he could still use it.
void.
He could still cash it because they wouldn't find out instantly she was dead. And then you've got that 10-day grace period, so they wouldn't find out until after, and he could be long gone.
I suppose.
I just felt like you wouldn't keep your appearance hidden and then hand
And then
over your
give your
real name.
Yeah.
And then leave you alive. Anyway, he cut the binding round her hands off again, and she signed the cheque and filled in the to section with Troy Wigley. I don't mention his name much in this, but that's his name. And she handed the cheque back to him. The ninja now had a name. I don't know why I wrote that.
Ninja Wiggly. Wow.
Do you want to know his full name?
I don't know if I do, but tell me.
Troy Eugene Wigley.
Okay.
I'm not sure this idiot thought... I'm not sure this idiot thought through much of his plan, to be honest. And after he gave out his name, he then tied her hands back again. So he spent quite a lot of time tying, binding, cutting.
But that might be part of his the stuff that turns him on, because sometimes
I don't think it was. I think...
was it just he didn't think things through.
Yeah, he
didn't
was just
think
like, oh
things
shit, I
ahead.
need her to... Yeah.
Yeah, oh God, now I need her to sign this. I better untie those hands again. Oh no. And yeah, more likely, isn't it?
And he probably came...
But
I don't know whether...
some do get off on
Yeah, they
you know,
do.
the bondage.
Well, BTK.
Yeah, which is not a sandwich.
Could be, though. Bacon, ketchup.
Turkey.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, I'm not having bacon and turkey. I might have turkey bacon. Bacon... I was going to say tits. It's because of your picture. The boobage.
The boob lady.
Anyway, back to it. Forcing Ellen back into the bathroom again, this beast unleashed an attack on her which is horrific beyond words.
So
we've not got to the worst.
No.
I've read all about it myself, and it wasn't an easy read for me. It actually made me cry, and that doesn't happen too often. Although it's happened loads in the last week, thanks to a certain person across the table from me. You made me cry with your birthday card.
I know, I'm sorry.
She's not sorry.
You're welcome.
If you would rather not hear the full details, I will put a timestamp in the Spotify information for you so you can skip and come back to it when it's over. Unfortunately, Victoria has to listen. I'm going to try and get through it quickly. Ellen had no clue about what was to happen when, on her knees, her head on the floor, she felt a hard, heavy blow from behind. This sent her reeling sideways, and before she could catch her breath, he stabbed her in the left breast. He pulled her back upright, hit her again on the other side of her head with what turned out to be a hammer. He hit her head and stabbed at her repeatedly before she felt the knife being jabbed into the nape of her neck twice in quick succession. So like, ch. This is abhorrent, obviously. And what happened to this poor woman next is just awful. This complete monster then pulled the knife out of her and started trying to stab her through her skull. This is just torture, and we know, most of us know that skulls are really, really hard. I mean, they're there to protect our brains, so stabbing through one is just, it's no easy feat. And when he was unable to manage to do this, in anger, frustration and rage, he reached for his hammer and used it to hit the end of the knife to hammer it into her head.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Like a hammer and a nail. I know, it gets worse. It gets worse.
What a monster.
When he tried to pull the knife out, he couldn't. It was stuck in her head.
Oh my God.
I hope at this point that she was in so much shock that she didn't feel this. And I wish I could tell you that this was the end of this attack on Ellen, but unfortunately it wasn't. Buckle up. To get the weapon out, Ellen remembers he put his foot down hard on her head to get a better purchase on the knife and used his weight to force her head down and release the blade. All the while he was screaming at her to keep her head down. Now, as you can probably imagine, Ellen was in and out of consciousness. She would have had no clue what was going on. She's facing head trauma. From her spot on the bathroom floor, she could see him in her bedroom. Through a haze of blood in her eyes, she could see that he'd removed the ninja costume and was now dressed in other clothes when he spotted her looking and started yelling at her again. Striding towards her on the floor, he raised the hammer and hit her head over the head one last time. She now realised his aim was to leave her dead, so she closed her eyes and tried her best to convince him she was. In his final move, he grabbed her left hand and started trying to force her wedding rings off. All the while, she was praying, let them come off, because she didn't think she could stay silent if he tried to cut her fingers off.
Yeah.
And with that, he was gone. This was a 2-hour attack. My version of it obviously sounds really quick, but this was prolonged.
And ferocious and just
awful. Hazy, I know. Hazy from the blood loss. Ellen knew she was dying, but for a long time she was too scared to even move. And who wouldn't be? He's been living in her attic for days without her knowing. So how would she know if he'd left the house? Finally, her instincts did take over. Her survival instincts took over. She knew if she didn't move, she would die. And that couldn't be her ending. So she, quote, slithered all the way from her bathroom, across her bedroom, and down a flight of fucking stairs.
Wow.
She got to the level below and to a telephone. This woman is incredible. And honestly, it does show, you hear about people lifting cars and things like that. It shows how the impossible can become possible. And I don't know if I'd be strong enough to do this.
Adrenaline, survival, all that stuff. She was obviously meant to survive this.
Yeah. I wonder, I'm not a woman of faith. I wonder if her faith helped her.
Yeah, potentially.
Gave her strength.
Yeah, I think you could be right.
Somehow with blood in her eyes, and bear in mind her head had been repeatedly beaten, she'd had a knife through it, Ellen managed to dial her parents' number. They reckon it was muscle memory that did it. Her fingers just did the work.
Yeah.
They didn't live that far away. Within minutes, they were in her home. This is a horrible bit. Dipping in and out of consciousness, the first she realised they were there to save her was hearing her own father scream in horror. I say every episode something is heartbreaking, but it really gets me. The thought of finding anyone in the state she was in is bad enough, but your child, I just can't even imagine. She was 43, same as you and me.
Yeah.
Yep. But to her parents, she was still a baby. Her father called 911 and she could actually hear them tell him that they didn't think she would survive based on what he was saying. She was naked, beaten and bloody. But hearing them not expect her to survive sparked something in this absolute badass. I mean, she is a badass and she gets there's even more badassery to come. And she just decided that she wasn't going to die. Nope, he wasn't going to be the one to end her life. As EMTs took her out of her home on a stretcher, she managed to tell them the name of the monster that did this to her. Because remember the cheque that you wanted her to write?
Yeah.
Fucking idiot. Oh, I actually said, yeah, dude was a dumbass here because I'm trying not to swear so much. I apologise, I'm trying. The police, bizarrely, caught him really, really quickly.
No way.
I know, it's
they
incredible.
Use those police skills to...
Oh, skills McGills. Actually, they did well in this case, but skills McGills. While Ellen was in hospital having emergency surgery, which she had more than one bout of surgery, and being sewn back together, she had 600 stitches in total.
Jeez.
This guy, who, by the way, is not what you would call a clever clogs by any stretch of the imagination, he was standing in the queue at a bank not too far away from Ellen's home with her cheque in hand. He also had his duffel bag, which had her jewellery, and guess what?
No.
The ninja costume.
Oh, right. What about the knife? Was that... Did he still have that? Because if he's taken a big knife with him...
I don't think he took the knife with him. I think he probably thought, I'll get rid of that and then nobody will know.
Oh, yeah.
So for a lot of victims, anybody in the true crime world will know that there can be a lot of time between the perpetrator being apprehended and then taken to court. But in this instance, it did happen fairly quickly. So on Wednesday, the 18th of November, 1986... Is that the right day? Yeah, sorry. On Wednesday, the 18th of November 1986, Troy Eugene Wigley stood trial for the aggravated robbery. Ellen, the badass warrior that she is, spent 2 hours on the stand talking the court through the events of the 29th of August that year. Can I just go back to the 18th?
Can I just say, aggravated robbery?
Yeah, well, he didn't kill her, like, by the grace of God.
What about sexual assault, attempted murder?
I think the sexual assault...
Voyeurism, because he'd been watching her for 2 days from her own house.
I think that it's aggravated robbery because of the sexual assault. I think that's the component that comes in there. I think that's how they do it. Because over here we have a manslaughter, don't we? And then we have murder. Whereas over there in America, anybody feel free to correct me, but they've got first degree murder, which is premeditated murder. Second degree is you murdered somebody, but it maybe wasn't, like, you did it in a fight or something like that. And then... what's the last? Oh, I don't know. I can't remember. But I think that's what makes it aggravated. But I've just realised that Wednesday the 18th of October 1986 ties in with the next case and I hadn't even noticed that. So, we're in court. Before she attended court, Ellen had no idea, nobody told her this, that while she would spend hours going through her testimony in front of the man that attacked her, she would not be afforded the same experience. When it came time for the defendant to do the same, she had to leave the room.
That's disgraceful.
I know. She had friends and family in there that were able to tell her what was going on, but she said it wasn't the same. And it feels like you're putting the victim through more.
Yeah.
Like, he gets to hear mine.
As a victim as well, we find there's normally two different kinds. So you either want to know absolutely everything and you need that to process your recovery, or you want to own what you already know and just leave it at that and not elaborate and not
go
put
too
any
deep.
more to it.
And both ways are correct.
Yeah, but to eliminate her from that is actually disempowering her completely. That's just...
I hope
that's
things
just so
have
wrong.
changed.
Yeah,
because this was, as I keep saying, 1986. But for Ellen at the time, this was really unacceptable. And she's wondered ever since... then why would court do this to a victim?
Yeah.
It's the same as over here. If you make a statement about sexual assault, you do your statement and then they obviously go and speak to the other person and the other person's allowed to read your statement in full. You're not allowed to know anything about what they said. So again, the perpetrator's been given the power over the victim.
It's It's wrong. It's so wrong.
When on Thursday the 20th of November, which again that goes into the next case. I've just blown my own mind. The jury found Wigley guilty and sentenced him to life in prison. And Ellen was more than happy with this. She said, quote, "It's really powerful sitting there facing that accuser, knowing that you're going to be part of getting him out of the public and going somewhere he can't hurt anyone else. It was pretty amazing." What he actually said, which I didn't include, he turned to the judge and said, "Oh, I forgive you." The guy's a dick.
Yeah. I was going to say for her, probably, I don't know, if she's Christian, they probably don't believe in the death sentence anyway, do they? So life imprisonment.
It's different. I think it can be different.
Okay.
Now, so many times people will read about a case and this is where it stops for them. You know, court cases usually take so long to happen and by then Joe Public have forgotten all about it. Over here, I know you'll hear about something happening, something horrific happening for 3 days. You'll hear about nothing else and then there's absolutely nothing. So I wanted to go through what it's like for the victim and what help is out there for them. When Ellen came out of hospital, she went straight back to living at the same home, which I think might surprise a lot of people. I'm not sure I would personally ever feel safe there again, but everyone's different, and her reasons are that, quote, "The house didn't do it to me, he did," which I think is really strong. I kind of love that. So this Wonder Woman got herself a house alarm fitted and made sure she could use it, which she was quite proud about being able to use it. Job done. But don't be fooled. Ellen's a normal woman and of course she was affected by what happened to her. Like most people, she went through pain physically, emotionally and mentally. She felt completely worthless. She cried constantly for months. Her marriage broke down as her husband at the time couldn't cope with what had happened to her and she lost her job too. For her many surgeries, she had to have her head shaved. So she had scars all over her face and her head and her body was just unrecognisable even to herself. And I'm going to be really honest here in a way to show you why I chose this case and why I empathise with Ellen so much. It's not the same, but we've mentioned before that I was born with a cleft lip and palate, which led to numerous surgeries when I was little. And when I was really young, when I first started having operations, I didn't know about it. Then when I got older, it was kind of fun because I was on the children's ward and, you know, it was a bit of a fun time away. But for my last surgery, I remember having to wear like this little nose bag and it went across my nose and like round the back of my ears and tied in a bow under my chin, and I was like, my nose was packed with gauze and stitches and it was weeping and bleeding pretty much constantly. I remember feeling so ugly and like worthless and who's going to want to speak to the girl with the nose bag sort of thing. And I know it's nothing compared to what she went to, but I just wanted to kind of empathise with her a little bit.
And you're beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So are you.
You could do your hair once in a while, though.
I've brought my straighteners with me. I was at work before I came here.
I know.
For a long time, Ellen felt like a pariah. When she left her home, people would actually cross the road rather than talk to her because they just didn't know what to say to her. And these were people that knew her and had heard what had happened to her and they didn't know what to say to her. And I get that, the not knowing what to say, but I think it's deplorable to just ignore the fact. And it may feel awkward, but it's not actually about you, it's about the other person. I was just going
to say, actually, you know, you feeling that little bit awkward, get over it.
Yeah.
Talk to your friend. Talk to this person that you know. Doesn't really matter what you say, actually.
No, it doesn't. I've been thinking about you would probably have gone a long way. These encounters or lack thereof compounded how Ellen felt about herself and probably made leaving the house for her a lot harder if you know that this is going to happen every time. But I'm glad to tell you that Ellen was surrounded by people in her life that loved her and actively helped her heal. Her sister and parents would rub lotion into her scars, listen to her, hold her while she cried, and her mother, who's now when the I Survive came out, her mum was 98. She sought out rape crisis centres and encouraged her to attend, and these things helped set in motion her healing. Ellen started seeing a therapist and met other survivors of crime and found that hearing their stories helped her immeasurably. She began to realise that she wanted to be better, stronger. In fact, she wanted to be stronger than she'd ever been before. Not just for herself, but also her family, as Ellen was incredibly aware that it wasn't only she that was affected by what had happened. So like Victoria and I have said before, crime affects those far and wide. It's not just the initial victim, it also affects the third parties such as family and friends of the victims, police officers who attend scenes and hear statements, the EMTs, hospital workers, counsellors, just so many people.
Yeah, like when you drop a stone in a pond, there is a ripple, and that's how crime affects beyond.
Yeah.
It's not just that one primary victim.
No, I completely agree. And as I say, we'll probably say that in many, many episodes.
Yeah.
Through her own personal journey of recovering from what happened to her, Ellen learned the power of sharing her own story. Sharing with others made her feel a little bit better every time she did it. And in the same way she found comfort in listening to other people talk, they found the same when she spoke. It feels like a revelation when you realise you aren't alone in how you feel.
And that your emotions and responses are valid and justified as well, because sometimes
normal.
Sometimes you might feel like you're an alien, but it's not the case at all. You'd be surprised the emotions that you go through, like, are shared with so many people.
Yeah, which is sad.
But actually there is a kind of comfort in knowing that you're not alone.
Yeah, while no two people have got the same experience, people can... When somebody says to you, oh, I can only imagine how you feel, sometimes they can, a lot of times they can't, and it's nice to find the ones that those are real words.
Yeah.
So for years, Ellen spoke wherever and whenever she could. And in 1991, she was asked by the Texas governor at the time, Ann Richards, to serve on the Texas Board of Criminal Justice. She became the first person on the board who was open about being a victim of violent crime. During her 6 years there, she researched and educated herself about the Texas justice system worked. She also began to meet with female inmates in Texas jails and found that a lot of them had been in similar positions to her as victims of crime, but for whatever reason, we know there are many, they found themselves taking a different path, and this led to a unit at a prison specifically for female inmates in Burnett, Texas, being named after Ellen in 1995. The Ellen Halbert Unit holds 600 beds for women in the prison system who need support with substance abuse. And did you notice the change of name?
Yeah.
At some time after her divorce, Ellen met a lovely man, and the two are still together to this day. He supports her in every way, just as she deserves. In 1997, Ellen was awarded a National Crime Victim Service Award by Janet Reno, the US Attorney General. In the same year, Ellen's time as a board member of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice ended, and Ellen still felt that it was incredibly important for her to find ways to help victims of violent crime to heal. And this is when restorative justice became a huge part of her life. Now, for those who don't know, restorative justice is an approach to help those involved in violent crimes, and this includes the victims, their families, the community, and the offenders, which I know a lot of people have a problem with. But this is about Ellen and her story, and I want to cover it as it helps her and others in similar situations. But please feel free to weigh in on our Facebook page and let us know what you think, but just be respectful. The aim of restorative justice, which I'm going to call RJ, because I'm struggling to get that out, is to aid in the healing process and to encourage offenders to take responsibility. Now, the latter is not only important as it allows the victims to see or hear that their attacker is taking full responsibility and blame, which can help victims because they take on a lot of the blame themselves, but it also forces the perpetrator to realise the level of harm they've done, which quite often they don't.
Yeah, I suppose in the UK we have, well, they do in America as well, don't they? They have victim impact statements, and that's a teeny tiny teaspoon of what, you know.
That's like the amuse-bouche of...
That's a perfect example.
Of restorative RJ.
Yeah, RJ.
So there's quite a few ways that you can administer restorative justice, but the most popular one, and the one that Ellen uses for her work, involves arranging mediation between the victim and the attacker in a safe environment for both parties. This is called victim-offender dialogue, and there's loads of research to show that rates of reoffending or recidivism do drop because the offenders have had to face their victims directly, and it does have an impact.
I guess that makes sense, yeah. I can understand why that would be effective.
I think there's probably a lot of people that are in jail for doing heinous things that have come out of a situation that they found themselves in. Things have got too big and they've done something stupid, which is different to what happened to Ellen because he went in there.
When some crimes are a reactive crime rather than a planned and premeditated, I can see that would work.
Yeah. There are certain stipulations that they have to adhere to as well, which I can't remember if I put them in here, but they have to have acknowledged that they were to blame. They're not allowed to have been in any further trouble since they've been in prison, things like that.
Yeah.
Ellen's worked in a programme called Bridges to Life, or BTL, since the early 2000s, and I've taken most of the next part from the BTL website, but it's just to give you an idea of what it is and why it was started. BTL, based in Richmond, Texas, was started by a man called John Sage. I'm not going into his whole story because we don't have time, but John faced his own personal tragedy in June 1993 when his sister, Marilyn Sage Meager, was murdered in her own apartment, and it was basically for her car. In the aftermath, he found that the loss of Marilyn and the way she was taken had a huge effect, but not only on him and his family, but the community too. And this included people that they didn't even know, people in Marilyn's life, such as friends, colleagues, people she bumped into at the same shop that she went to, things like that. And this led to him creating a faith-based restorative justice programme which utilises victim-offender dialogue. Going forward, Ellen became a victims' rights advocate, held the position of Director of Victim Services for Austin's District Attorney, and she is on the board of the Overseers for Texas Prisons. So from 43, her life kind of started again.
Yeah. I think sometimes when these things happen, you don't necessarily choose that path,
no,
but you have to make the most of things, and you have this knowledge then, and you want to
do
put
something.
that to its best use. So it's sort
positive.
Yeah.
And Ellen's story doesn't end here, but let me first tell you about another case and then how the two came together.
I'm interested in this because you said you've just blown your own mind with the dates, and I want to know what
I have. It's just that the dates sort of link, and I hadn't noticed that. So we're going on to part 2. Kathy Lynn O'Daniel was excited when she arrived at her mother and father's house on Sunday the 16th of November 1986 with her new partner by her side, a doctor who I couldn't find his name. They'd just been on a weekend away together out of state. Kathy was the middle child of John and Linda White, and it would be fair to say she'd experienced a rough time over the previous few years. She'd fallen pregnant accidentally, leading to a shotgun marriage and then a divorce. Alcohol had become an issue for a little while, but finally things appeared to be coming together for her. She was 26 years old, a mother to her little girl Amy, and she and her new fella had come to I don't know why I put fella, came to the Whites' home to share excitedly that they were expecting a child together. So she was 2 months pregnant and they were planning to marry.
I'm smiling all over my face at this, but I know it's going to go horribly wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, God. I'm like, la, 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 happiness, baby.
It does. It was
marriage.
like she'd finally found her place, but you hear this so many times. Everyone was delighted, and after they left to head home, Linda, Kathy's mum, was tickled pink to realise that her son-in-law-to-be was none other than the son of Linda's own paediatrician from when she was pregnant back in the 60s with her 3 children. So she reached for the phone despite the late hour and told Kathy this, and they both laughed about it in amazement. Neither one of them could have guessed that this would have been their last ever conversation. Smile gone.
Smile gone.
It was the very next day when Kathy went missing from the Houston area of Texas on Monday the 17th of November 1986. This is the same week the trial for... Yeah.
And so, sorry, she was pregnant as well?
2 months pregnant.
Oh, okay.
Kathy was last seen at a service or filling station in northeast Houston. I never know what to call them because we call them petrol stations.
Petrol garage, I think they call them, don't they?
No, because they say gas, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Gas station. That's what they call them.
I might remember that when we get to it being mentioned again, but I might call it something like a flibberty gibbet. Who knows? It was believed that she had stopped there, but not for fuel, to fill her car radiator with water because it was playing up. And after this...
And it was hot, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, this is November now. So,
right, sorry, yeah. No,
Ellen's attack was in the August, but the court case was in November.
Yeah, gotcha. Oh, that's my microphone.
After this, it was crickets, and Linda and John sat at their dining room table waiting for news. No one could understand why she would disappear. Her life was looking up, she was so excited, and her parents didn't believe that she would purposely leave and not tell anyone. But for 4 days, they waited for news from the police, and there was nothing. Bizarrely, though, Kathy's brother received an anonymous call from a young man telling them not to worry about Kathy. She'd asked him to let them know that she'd fallen out with her boyfriend and just needed a few days to herself to sort out some, quote, personal issues. Now, she left the house the night before. Everybody was happy as Larry. She was getting married. There was a baby on the way, so it didn't seem likely. 5 days after Kathy last spoke to her parents, her body was found, discarded, in a remote field at the end of a dirt road, and she was just left there, her face in the soil, honestly just thrown away, and it hurts my heart to think about her out there on her own. So I can only imagine what her parents thought when they were told. When she was examined, it was deduced that not only had she been shot with a small caliber gun more than once, but she'd been sexually assaulted prior to her horrific murder. For the Whites, this awful discovery came out of the blue. Remember, they hadn't heard from the police much, and it left them in turmoil. Linda has since shared that she just sat looking at the wall for 3 weeks, smoking and drinking coffee, following the news. She just stopped. But police had been working hard on this since 2 days before, on Thursday the 20th of November. So we'll just backtrack a little bit. Unbeknownst to the Whites, and I think, although I could be wrong, the general public, just 1 week earlier, 2 boys had broken free from a Texas Youth Commission home in Houston on Sunday the 16th of November 1986. And as an FYI, some of the reporting says it happened 1 month earlier, but I've worked my way back through the dates and read quite a lot of articles, and I think it was actually a week. Gary Philip Brown and Marion Douglas Berry, also known as Marvin, were both 15 years old, and they'd made a break for it from this unit to basically find drugs and get high. When they made it clear of the actual unit, they stole an employee's motorcycle and hightailed it out of there, heading for Travis County, where Berry was from. As soon as they could, they found a dealer and traded the bike for some cocaine and a syringe each. They spent the rest of that night holed up under a bridge shooting up. The following day, the pair spotted a man loading furniture onto a station wagon in a nearby Target car park. The vehicle wasn't actually parked, by the way. The engine was still running and the guy kept leaving it to grab more furniture. And of course, these 2 little shits stole it. Peeling out of the car park, they eventually parked up.
They didn't attack the man, though.
They didn't. While the man was in getting the next piece of furniture.
So they don't attack big grown men.
No, don't be silly.
No. Okay.
Well, to be fair, they've not attacked anyone at this point. Not that I want to be fair to them. Not only did they get the wagon and the furniture, but under the driver's seat, they pulled out a .22 Colt pistol. They quickly offloaded the furniture and used the money to buy more drugs and spent the rest of the night injecting themselves with speedballs, which, for anyone else who's clueless, is basically a mixture of cocaine and methamphetamine. They sold the car as well, by the way. By Sunday the 20th, they must have run out of drugs again, as Harris County cops found them in Greenville, Texas, in another stolen car. Both were then arrested, initially for being on the run from the juvenile centre, but as soon as the plates were run on the car, they were also apprehended in the disappearance of Kathy Lynn O'Daniel. But they haven't found her yet, remember. I can only imagine what they were on when they saw poor Kathy standing at the service station with a broken down car. She literally had no chance. We know this now because one of the boys, I think it might be Gary, but I might be wrong, shared what happened and where Kathy could be found, probably in a bid to be treated more leniently than his counterpart, and also because they were 15, so they probably shot it when they were getting questioned about this.
Probably.
I don't think I need to go into more details, as I've already told you she was sexually assaulted and shot. But whoever it was that talked took the police to a block of flats or apartments and showed them where to find the gun, and then took them to the field where Kathy lay. These children abducted her from the fuel station and forced her to drive them to Brazoria County and down the dead-end track to the field where they attacked her and took her life. In 1987, after a long drawn-out process, both were certified to be tried as adults. However, due to their age, they were declared to be ineligible for the death sentence. Both took plea deals, and the sentences of 55 years for Berry and 54 for Brown were handed down. Now, the Whites weren't actually that much involved in this process because they were fighting for her custody of Amy at the time against her biological father, who I don't think had much to do with her. But let's go back in time again slightly. Back to 1986, when Kathy was found, John and Linda were shocked beyond belief when it was first revealed to them that the people who took their baby girl were babies themselves. Initially, they were upset to find out that the boys would be treated as adults in course, but wouldn't face the death penalty. They were all for it. At the time, the Whites were members of a group called Parents of Murdered Children, or POMC. It was a support group, but it was also an advocacy group, and the parents there were calling for harsher punishments and sentences for perpetrators, like making it harder for parole and stuff like that, including those who are children. According to an article by Slate that you can find in my references, Linda even stood up and voiced that she thought the age for the death penalty, quote, should go as low as 13 years old. She was even in a POMC video advocating for it, and honestly I can't say I blame her feeling this way given the circumstances. Personal feelings aside, I can totally understand her wanting those boys to die at that point.
Yeah. Well, it's like the boys that murdered James Bulger. Yeah.
One of them's gone on to reoffend and reoffend and reoffend.
Things that they did to that child.
I know.
Why? What was the point in keeping them? But
remember how wild that felt? I remember thinking up until that point, it did it because I got bullied quite a lot, and I remember I used to think, well, it's not like they're going to kill me, so it'll be fine. And then realising, wait, 10-year-olds do and can kill.
Yeah, it was with them as well, that James Bulger was the second child they'd taken that day. They got caught taking a little girl. So they fully had intentions.
Yeah, it was premeditated. They'd gone out that day with that to do.
But yeah, anyway, back
No,
to
that's
this.
okay.
Yeah.
It's good to hear.
I just think they should not have been protected the way that they have over the years.
I agree. I'll be honest, I don't agree with the death penalty because I know of so many wrongful conviction cases for a start, and I also don't agree with eye for an eye. However, that's not to say that my mind couldn't be changed if I was in the situation that Linda was in.
Yeah, and you can understand their feeling.
Yeah, and the other thing is, because these boys are children, you know, from a psychological point of view, like their brains haven't matured yet, they don't have the capability to understand consequences properly yet, which people think's bizarre because a lot of people seem to think 15's grown up, but it isn't. It's not grown up.
Not at all.
But to do something like this is just heinous, and I think the drugs probably had quite a lot to do with it, but that's not an excuse.
15-year-olds think that they're grown up.
Oh, we thought we were grown up at that age. So at these meetings of POMC, there was never any talk really of healing or finding a way to get through the grief and pain. It was always just about vengeance. And at the end of one of these meetings, after they left, John asked Linda, quote, "Where do they get the energy for all that bitterness and anger?" And all of a sudden, Linda understood that she didn't want to be like them, and she changed her life, and I mean she changed her life. Linda, at this point, had little more than her GED, which is the General Educational Development Certificate, which is basically, in America, I think you have to complete high school. If you don't, you then go on to do your GED.
Yeah.
I think you struggle to get jobs without it. She went back to school and earned a BA in psychology. She followed that up by gaining her master's. She wanted to understand fully how people deal with experienced traumatic loss, and she wanted to counsel people. But the more studying she did and teaching that she began doing, she realised that the knowledge she's gained in teaching these students in the same subject was actually healing her. She knew retribution wasn't for her, and through reading and researching, eventually she found restorative justice and the concept of victim-offender dialogue. RJ. So at this point, 1997, Linda's 57. She was studying in a doctoral programme now for adult education, during which she was not only teaching in prison, but she was also working on her dissertation, meeting prisoners and hearing them share remorse. And she decided she wanted to try RJ for herself. And having met Ellen Halbert as they both taught in the prisons, she knew who to ask. Despite never being a mediator herself, so Ellen was more the like a management. She understood it, she'd done all the training, but she didn't mediate for people. But despite this, she decided to do it for Linda because Linda asked her personally. And she set about trying to arrange for Linda to be able to meet with the two boys who took Kathy away from her. Now, obviously, at this point, they're no longer boys. They're 42 years old. And victim mediation was not an option with Marvin because he'd been in a ridiculous amount of trouble in prison. But it was with Gary Brown, and it was arranged. I'm not going into this in detail because, well, there's a reason. I'll tell you in a minute. I can tell you that it went well, and Gary was incredibly remorseful, and still is. And he gave Linda a lot of peace when he shared Kathy's last words with her, saying, quote, she said, "I forgive you and God will too." And then she put her head down, and that's when she passed away. While this mediation was being arranged, a filmmaker called Lisa Jackson approached Ellen and asked did she have a case that they could film for a documentary on the victim offender mediation programme, and Linda was suggested. Linda agreed to take part, and you can actually watch this. So Linda, her husband, her children, and I think she had 2 or 3 grown boys, and Amy, who was Kathy's little girl, who's no longer a little girl, all discussed it. And while Linda and Amy, well, Linda was the one who really wanted to do it, the rest of them didn't, but Amy decided she did want to meet the person who killed her mum. So they supported her, but they never went through with it. But Linda and Amy did. And there's a documentary on YouTube called Meeting a Killer. I've not watched it myself because I've not been able to yet, but I've decided, and I've not asked Victoria, that we're going to watch it together one day, and then we're going to discuss unscripted, just chat about what we think about it. But I thought what we could do is, I was thinking about a watch party sort of thing, but I'm thinking I'm going to give you guys a date in the next week or two where I'm going to set up an event on the Facebook page so we can all chat about it. So there'll be a date that you have to have it watched by, well, you don't have to watch it. You could even just come along and hear what we're thinking, but we will have an episode recorded for that day, and you can have a listen to that too, and then we will respond to questions. We might even go live if we're able to make it work on Facebook.
I thought you were going to say we're going to do it like a Gogglebox style, where live responses.
That goes into copyright and things, though.
It also...
We would say things that were ridiculous.
Well, no, I was just thinking you wouldn't be able to focus properly on it. Did I just use properly on it?
Yeah.
So, let's just watch it,
take notes,
have it done by a date, then discuss.
Yeah,
Open for discussion.
We'd love to know what you guys think about that. And I know this has been a really long episode, but I just felt that you needed to know these women and these cases.
They sound incredible.
Yeah, and just for my part to close out, I'm just telling you that Ellen did consider doing mediation as well. She considered meeting with Troy Wigley. However, he won't admit responsibility even to this day. He's still in jail, so it's not possible. And so she just doesn't want to meet with him. So while I've not told you too much about the end of this, I think you should go and watch the documentary. So again, it's Meeting with a Killer, and there'll be articles in the references where you can read more about that as well.
And we'll obviously put the link to the documentary in as well.
We'll put that in the event as well, so you don't have to go searching for it if you want to watch it and then discuss it with us. But I do know that Gary Brown has built a friendship with Linda White.
Right.
She
Interesting.
supports him. I think, again, she comes from a faith-based
I was going to say,
opinion.
there's got to be a lot of, they've got to be putting a lot in their faith and their beliefs that people can be forgiven, I suppose.
Yes, and people can change. And I think the fact, I don't know if it would be the same if it was adult offenders, but I think because he was so young, I mean, we all did stupid things when we were young, nothing like this, but, you know, he is genuinely remorseful. So check out the I Survived episode, Ninja in the Attic.
Yeah. Thanks, Gemma. That was really horrible, and also, I like that it was a survival story, but bloody brutal.
I know it was.
What a badass.
And it's going to feel like we are finishing this really quickly, but it's because we are. We are on a schedule today for picking up children. So thank you, as always, for being here. And next time you get Victoria, and she's promised me it's not a horrible case.
It's a bit of a daft one, but hopefully you'll enjoy it. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and thank you, Victoria.
Keep on trucking.
Bye.